Well, Brian, it has been a while since our last update. Actually, I don't think we've had an update since the golf course opened 6 weeks ago. And by all accounts, fabulous conditions out here, probably better than we expected, some perfect weather. And our members, a big part of that process, helping care for the course. I think we'd maybe be remiss if we didn't take this opportunity to remind everyone to continue to fix your ball marks and fill your divots or replace them if you can. But we did want to get back out here and update everybody on a few things that you're seeing, some questions we've gotten along the way. And so maybe starting up here on 5T, Brian, you've started to see some discoloration in some different places here on the golf course, some POA coming up. Talk to us about that process and what we're doing here, because I understand not too unexpected, just more visible now as we head into fall.
Yeah, so part of the seeding process, we always knew that we have this seed bank in the soil of annual bluegrass seed that's basically been around for the last 100 years plus. Whenever we started becoming a golf course, it started developing the seed bank. Through the seeding process, we're trying to get the bentgrass to germinate. Well, it's also going to provide an opportunity for annual bluegrass to germinate. And you can see even in these areas now, we're trying to encourage the bentgrass to go over the top of the annual bluegrass. So we're applying a selective herbicide that will set the annual bluegrass back, and then in time the bentgrass is going to gain ground, grow right over it, and this is just part of the process. You'll see it a little bit more on the north side of the road because we seeded these fairways later last year and we didn't have an opportunity to make this application. When you go on the south side of the road, we're far better off, higher percentage of bentgrass throughout those fairways because we made the same application this time last year. So you're seeing on the north side of the road, these are kind of the first rounds of these applications. The bentgrass is going to keep graining the ground, the annual bluegrass is going to recede. And over the next couple years, we just continue to make these applications. Any annual bluegrass seed that germinates, we're going to knock it back, make sure that we start knitting in a tighter and tighter bentgrass stand throughout these areas.
Excellent. No, that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, hundreds of years of soil here and just a lot of things beneath the surface that we couldn't knock out before we interseeded, and different than a lot of our tees and greens that obviously we imported uncontaminated soils, and we're seeing nearly 100% bentgrass in those locations. One of the other things that we've been working on, a little bit like the process to knock out the POA, has been the process to establish our fescue grasses throughout the golf course. Could you talk to us about where we're at in that process? I know we're seeing some new fescue behind us here on the left side of 4 and on the other side here between 4, 6, and 7. Where are we at in that process?
So this year there was just a couple additional areas that we wanted to add that fescue to get the little varied texture, increase the aesthetics. And so you can see kind of on that knoll back there, far left side of 4, left side of 5, really areas that are out of play. Just a great opportunity for us to introduce fescue grasses, and we've just completed our second round of applications to kill all the existing grass. And actually today is going to be the first day we're going to start replanting some fescues this fall. That grass is going to germinate. And then next year, we're going to be able to allow it right out of the gate, start growing up so that we'll be able to see those seed heads. In addition, the areas, you know, for instance, on the right side of 4 here, that has fescue grasses established. We kept mowing it because it just germinated this past spring and a lot of weeds came with that as well. So that will allow it to grow up and you'll see that nice seed head texture and that really neat color contrast to what you see throughout the golf course.
Fantastic. I know I've heard from a lot of people, and I share it, that kind of aesthetic change to the golf course has been fabulous, and excited for next springtime when we start to see it pop up everywhere. Then I think the last thing, we had a lot of rain, we know, in the first half of this year that allowed us to identify some low-lying areas that were in need of some drainage. This fall is going to be a lot of drainage work for you and your team. Where are those priority areas in the golf course to add some drainage, maybe where we don't see it today?
Yeah, so even with our efforts of trying to get as much drainage in all of our areas that we know are problematic, we still throughout the season identified some other opportunities. And throughout every rain event, I'm taking pictures. I'm establishing a notebook of these different areas that we want to go ahead, introduce drainage in to improve those playing surfaces. And some of them are in play. For instance, going down the 10th fairway I see from the tees going all the way down to the low area. There's a little pocket in the front of one that historically has never held wider. Now it is. It's just we have some solutions for those areas, and we want to get those implemented so that they become less problematic in the future.
Terrific. Well, I think we've learned a lot about maintaining this golf course over the course of the last 6 weeks of play, some maybe new ways of doing things, some opportunities to improve, and that's really going to be a part of this process, not just for the balance of this season, but even as we head into next season, and before we get to that third year where maybe the grass is really mature and we're starting to see all of the playing conditions we've dreamed of and the real reason we did this project in the first place. I think to close, one of the last questions we received from a lot of folks is, are we going to close earlier this year than normal? And I think, fair to say we'll probably be a couple weeks ahead of our normal close date, just to allow the grass ample recovery time and allow you and your team to get out on the golf course and do some of this work so we can hit the ground running next year and get further along on our journey here to the playing surfaces we want. Again, it's been a really fun first 6 weeks. It's been fabulous to see everybody on the golf course enjoying it, really rave reviews and some great feedback along the way. And we'll look forward to another update here as we close the season. But until then, enjoy the rest of the fall.